Welcome to Support Life, a program focusing on current social issues from a life-affirming perspective. I'm Gavin Baulch and my guest today is Toni Leigh. Toni, welcome.
Thank you, Gavin.
Now, you come with a very interesting life story and a perspective that I think people will be able to benefit from. But where did life for you begin?
Well, I was born in a bungalow in Northcote. I had a mum and dad who gave birth to 4 children. I was the eldest, and after the 4th child, they needed to move because it was getting pretty crowded. So we then moved to Reservoir, and I started my school years at Reservoir and progressed to high school still in Reservoir, and at that stage I entered Teachers College. So my childhood was very normal, happy.
Yes.
I would say it's blessed.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a lot of love. And I was about the only one in my family who went to church or Sunday school or youth club. I don't know why. I was the only one that was baptised. But they were happy years too, because there was fun and friendship there and good stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
But stories are life, aren't they?
Yes.
We all have a story. You have a story today. And those watching have a story. I wouldn't mind interviewing some who are watching, actually, to hear their story. All right. So those early years were, as you say, fun and free. You could jump the neighbour's fence and roll in the cabbages, and
it was safer.
Yes.
Yeah, much safer.
Lots of fun.
Yeah.
All right. You finally went to Teachers College. Why did you like teaching?
Well, I always loved my teachers. I loved learning, and my parents seemed to think that it was a good profession to be in, and I was a people pleaser. I think it was a collision of happy coincidences that I liked it, they liked it, and I got in. I was lucky to get in, actually, because I was just a very normal, average learner. Yeah. So I didn't struggle. However, I didn't excel.
Yes. Okay, but you passed.
But I passed.
All right.
Yeah.
So teaching took you where? You've got the certificate. Where did you go?
Yes, I taught in Thornbury for a couple of years. I taught at Greensborough, not too much further than a couple of kilometres from home, because in those days I had to get there on a motorbike. I didn't have a car. But yeah, they were happy years, and I enjoyed the kids.
A motorbike?
A motorbike.
Oh, any accidents, spills?
No, a Suzuki A100, and it was just a putt-putt.
Oh, putt-putt.
Yeah, a putt-putt, yeah.
You'd do well in the Philippines or so, wouldn't you, with your little putt-putt?
Maybe.
Tuk-tuk?
Yeah.
All that. All right, so, and in this world of teaching, what other interests did you gather at that time?
Well, at that time I had a husband, so there wasn't many more interests than making up for lost time. We had delayed our honeymoon for 2 years so we could afford to go overseas. So after scrambling that money together, we went overseas and lived in Japan for 6 months and Europe for 6 months. And by the time we got back, all of our friends had been having babies, building houses, and we were really behind money-wise. But we had all those experiences, so we didn't feel like we were behind. And so we had to do more jobs than our teaching job or his Board of Works job. So we went into a Chinese cafe business because my dad's half Chinese. He was still alive at that stage. And we started in Hurstbridge, where there was no other hot food shop. There was just a milk bar. So the people had to have our food or travel a couple of kilometres down the road for the authentic Chinese food. But we didn't get too many grumbles.
Oh, that's good. So it was kind of almost authentic Chinese.
Almost authentic, as much as we could gather together.
Right.
With no formal training, but we used to sneak into other restaurants and need to go to the toilet. Therefore, we'd have to go through their back room, and we saw how they set up. So that was our formal training, gleaning information along the way.
All right, so MasterChef is your next call, is it?
No,
Nothing
never.
like that?
No.
You've got all these secrets, though, by walking through the kitchen to the bathroom.
That's all right.
Oh, that's okay. Is it? You're
Yes.
not going to write a book about the secrets of...
No.
Okay, we'll let you off there. So here you are. You've gone to the University of Life and Hard Knocks now. What were some of the hard knocks?
Well, after about 8 years and at this stage, we had almost moved into our home because, remember, we were a bit behind everybody else, and my husband chose to build a mud brick, bluestone and lead light home. In Greensborough, it was a bit unheard of, but because we'd mixed with the hippie community up at Hurstbridge, we really fell in love with the do-it-yourself. So we weren't quite in the home, and our baby came along, our first baby. And I'd had a dream life up until that stage. And then when I had to go in and have the labour for this little girl who was to be called Jasmine, I was told that it wasn't progressing well, and I could tell by the activity of the doctors and the nurses that it was a bit scary. It was scary for them, so it must have been doubly scary for me. So at that time, I think I had to really, really search my soul and say, how am I going to get through this? Because I was scared stiff. And so all those Sunday school stories that I'd heard years and years ago, they were lovely, they were in my head, but nothing was in my heart or every fibre of my body. And I really had to pray to God and say, God, if you really are real, you need to show yourself to me now, because I'm too scared to go into this epidural, because I was going to be awake through the birth. I wasn't just going to go to sleep and whatever happened, I wouldn't even know about it. So Jesus came, I prayed to Jesus because I knew it had to be Jesus. Jesus came into my heart and my body and strengthened me and gave me such peace and assurance that it's never left me, that anything that happened in that birth process, I knew that if one or both of us had died, we would be in heaven and the one that was left behind would be looked after. Or if we both died at that birth, my husband, I prayed for peace and support for my husband, and God gave me the assurance that he would never leave me and he would never leave my loved ones. So, that was a real hard knock. But ever since that moment, I knew that I had to have a real personal relationship with God. I couldn't keep him in my back pocket for emergencies, and I couldn't just rely on stories, disconnected stories.
Well, but at the birth, you discovered something which was a bit of a hard knock. What was that?
Well, the doctors and nurses seemed to think that the reason why Jasmine wasn't being born was there was an obstruction there, and when they lifted her out of my body with the caesarean, they found that my one ovary had been completely cancered. So it was really a lucky thing that happened that she wasn't born in the normal route, because we might not have known till too late. So I thank God that even in that situation, he was overruling and making sure that things did work together for good.
Okay, Toni, we're going to come back to the cancer side of things.
Okay.
You're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch and my guest is Toni Leigh. Toni, we just discovered that Jasmine was born with some difficulty, but it was a difficulty that you had to face. You had a cancerous ovary. What happened with that cancer then? Well, the doctors removed that ovary, and luckily I was able to have 4 more normal, healthy children after that. But after my third baby, Lila, was born, ladies go for these normal tests every now and then, and the doctors thought that I needed a hysterectomy because they said, you have a cancerous condition. And I thought, oh my goodness, I didn't expect cancer again, because I'd actually become a natural therapist in the meantime and thought I was doing all the preventative stuff possible. So obviously I went back to God and prayed about it, and I said, God, do you really want me to have this hysterectomy? Because my husband and I had thought that we'd have a big family, and if possible, we weren't finished at that stage. So I asked the doctors for time to consider, and at that moment I went scrambling to an acupuncturist, and still using meditation, or I would say prayer, but calming my mind, because we were doing about 3 jobs. We had 3 children, we had people coming in and out of our house because it was open house. We conducted our businesses from home. So I went to this acupuncturist, and he was able to put me on herbs, massage, a lot of self-talk, like, Toni, you can't do everything on your own, ask for help, you're not Mrs. Superman. So after a certain amount of time, I went back to the doctors, and they found that there was nothing there.
there was no need for that hysterectomy. So I thank God for that too, that I didn't jump into panic mode, yes, take it out, because I was absolutely frightened that there'd be cancer popping up everywhere if I didn't know what the real cause was. Just don't cut and throw everything away. God put it there for a purpose. If possible, keep it. So that was the story of that cancer.
All right. So weaving in and out of this cancer story is you're looking at safe ways of medication.
Yes.
And things that have a history of working.
Yes. I was drawn to that. And all my life, since I had that first cancer, I've been trying to get the message out. Use what God's given us in its purest natural form possible. And hopefully if we don't adulterate our food too much, we might have to stay away from toxic drugs if they're not going to save our lives and they're not imperative. So that's been my message all along, interrupted by children being born and divorce.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Well, these are the University of Life. It brings these knocks along, and it depends what we do with the knocks, doesn't it?
Yes.
So tell me about some of the things you did with the knocks of life.
I realised when my marriage broke down, I had to do a lot of forgiving. I had to forgive both of us for not being perfect parents and being able to hold it together. And then after God strengthened me, put me back on my feet and said, well, you've got a job to do. You've still got these kids to bring up through this world. Together, we did it together, even though we lived separately. Their dad was very loving and supportive of them. So I was lucky enough to have students from overseas come and live in my home, which meant that my children, after having the divorce, didn't have to have a mum that went out to work and leave them totally. So for 10 years I looked after kids from overseas, and that was really lovely, because even though I couldn't get overseas, I sort of went through them,
Okay.
I heard all their stories. Yeah.
And how diverse was the ethnicity of everything?
Oh, mostly Chinese kids, a smattering of Japanese kids, Thailand kids, a few Arabic kids, but no Europeans, because they could more or less speak English.
Yes.
They needed to get the English practice,
Yes.
So that was good.
Okay. And the Asian interest, was that kind of a throwback to the DNA and the genes of your ancestry?
My dad. It might have meant that I felt comfortable feeding them Asian food, so that I could do that. And the fact that I'd lived in Japan for 6 months, I was very comfortable with the Asian culture. So I suppose it was all of those things combined. And because I was a teacher, I didn't feel that I had nothing to give them. I always knew that I could help them with their homework if need be. It was a comfortable arrangement, yes.
And are you fortunately still in contact with some of the students that stayed?
Only a couple. Just recently I went to a South American boy's wedding. That was a lovely thing. Carlos had his mum and dad over for his wedding and remembered me as his homestay mum.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lovely thing to do.
Okay. And where was that wedding?
That wedding was in Geelong at an old-fashioned venue, and it was a Greek-Italian girl married to a South American boy, and the families came together. They did half the singing and dancing was Italian and half was South American. It was real lively and lovely. Beautiful blend.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. Sounds great. All right. But you also did fostering.
I did look after foster children for almost 5 years, because what happened was a lot of the Chinese kids were buying their own houses here, so they didn't need the homestay mums anymore, and I still needed to keep the roof over my children's heads. So I thought, what else can I do that enables me to nurture kids and not stress myself out, because I was ageing. I was 60 at that stage. So foster kids were the perfect answer, and it was really good because Berry Street enabled me to take them to Sunday school or youth group if they would go, always making sure that they wanted to go. And I was able to be a mum again, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, so I don't do that full time now. I just do it once a month.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, there was another sad darkness that came into your life.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, Jasmine, my firstborn, she chose to do a job where she was looking after clients who normally would have been in mental institutions, but they were in private houses. So this particular day she was on duty, and one of the clients had a psychotic episode which resulted in very traumatic experience for her, and down the track she managed to take into herself post-traumatic stress disorder. Kindly, she kept that from us for 2 years, so we didn't have the ability to help her over that first 2-year period. Jazzy only lived another 3 years after that.
Yes. Okay.
That was very sad.
And
yes.
then her life, let's say, was taken.
Yes. Well, Jazzy decided not to take her medication because it made her feel very leaden and not being able to be part of life. She would choose to take it and then have a holiday from it occasionally. And on one of those holidays, she suicided because it was by her own hand. It was called suicide.
Yes. All right. Well, on that note, you're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and my guest is Toni Leigh. Toni, we've touched on some tough and dark moments, and Jasmine's suicide. But all of these things have been redeemed, and through your study of other than the pharmaceutical line of medicines, where has that taken you?
Well, I'm very, very much interested in how positive thought processes impact the physical body. I mean, I'm reminded of a glad heart makes good medicine. I mean, that's paraphrasing the Bible, but I take that on board when I work with children or adults. I work with bark remedies, which work on a vibrational sense in the body with emotions, tipping them into the positive if they're negative, and very much in just being there for people, especially people who seem to be, I'm drawn to them or they're drawn to me with common life experiences. And I find that if they're supported emotionally, they deal with their illnesses better, or maybe they prevent their illnesses. And if they haven't got a spiritual connection, what we're doing at the moment is an outreach in Doreen. Our Cornerstone Life Church has a wellbeing program where we do gentle exercises, because exercise is very uplifting for the body, helps with the brain chemicals, giving positive energy. And also we do a little bit of talking about our problems and how we can help with natural therapies, or people just throw their thoughts in the ring, what doctors' medications have helped them, or other modalities that have helped them.
Yes. So we're not leaving anything out here. The person who comes to the training session, does it go for an hour or how long?
About an hour and a half. The first half is just gentle Tai Chi exercises. We have a break, cup of tea and a sharing of what's been going on in the last week, and then we get to whatever ails them, and often they give me homework. They say, look up water, look up salt, what can we do for high blood pressure? So we don't say, don't continue with what your doctor's doing. We say, can we add these things in to help with the symptoms, or what can we do physically?
Okay, so you're open, you've got your listening ears on.
Yes.
They've got their listening ears on too?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So they're not going to do anything silly?
No.
Good.
No.
Okay, and you're just drawing them to a space that maybe for the first time that week or month or year, they're considering things they haven't considered.
Yes.
A sort of contemplative moment?
Yes, yeah. And sharing, like sharing the burdens and uplifting each other.
Okay. Now, what do your children think of what you're doing now later in life?
I think they're happy because they can see that the pressure is off earning for that roof over the head. They're all on their own positive, strong tracks in life. I have one granddaughter who is here, and my second daughter is having her first child, and the other boys are in employment, and they're all doing what they should be doing at this time of life. And I thank God that I have got that happening in their lives.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you moved to Doreen because you made this conscious decision to downsize and minimise those pressures of life that come.
Yeah. Mortgage stress, I think they call it.
Is that what they call it?
I didn't want to earn for another 15 years. I would be 80 and the bank would still own my house. So I now have a tiny little house, which doesn't take long to clean. That means I get out of it fast and go out and about and see friends, or get involved with the activities at Doreen that I love to do.
Sort of deja vu. You know, there was the little bungalow to start with, and now there's a little bungalow to end with.
Never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this has brought joy into your life and others.
I believe so, because I'm more accessible. I'm not that crazy person running around. I'm still running around, but I'm not so crazy. There's a bit of a direction, because I think God's leading me into the things that I should be doing that are effective for Him, not just trying to keep the bills down and the house clean. And it's exciting. It's really fulfilling, being able to be amongst people and know that you've got something to offer them, and it's not me, it's God.
Yes.
It's God through me, being able to say, well, look, there's friendship, there's some information. We can point people to other areas, that they can have spiritual help if they want to come to our church, but we don't expect it.
Yes.
We're just there for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So is this a small community that the church is in?
I think it's growing. I'm not really sure about the numbers. It's a very young community in one aspect, and a very older community in another aspect. They're both ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
But it's vibrant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just a shopping strip that's there?
Yeah, shopping strip, and lots of houses, and a few schools around, and it's brand new. It's got a lot of potential.
So it's one of those very, very northern suburbs?
Yes, outer northern, yeah.
Oh, up
near Whittlesea.
Okay.
If people know Whittlesea, yeah.
Top end of Plenty Road?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So what are your thoughts and plans for this year for the little group that you're working with?
Well, we're also at the church launching a healing rooms, which is Holy Spirit-led healing. So I'm very excited about that. That will be within the church. The health and well-being is just growing. It's just very new. So we're always excited about new people coming in. Yeah. Apart from that, I'm just waiting for where God leads me. Grandparenthood, it's wonderful. Being there for my mum. I do hope she will come and live with me one day. However, she needs to be very sick and feeble for that. So I'm not really, I've got my feet in both directions. I'd love her to be with me, but at the moment I'm happy to keep travelling back to see her and help her.
Well, obviously she is self-contained and well enough to cater and care for herself. Still
very independent and has her friendships and her shopping strip, so I need to just let her be there while she's happy to be there.
Well, that's wise, you're having and appreciating her skill level at this stage of life.
Yes.
And how many grandchildren?
One, and a third on its way.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a girl or boy, but we're very excitedly waiting for that. Okay. God is good. He gives us much. He gives so much more than I expected. I really thought when I hit that middle part of my life, oh, this is tough, But He never left me. He's always there.
Yes.
And it's just nice being older, because you can sit back and count your blessings. You're not in the middle of trying to be everything to everybody. Yeah.
Well, Toni, we count our blessings that you were with us today to share your life.
Thank you.
You've been watching Support Life, and that's all for our program today. Join us again next week. Goodbye.